Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa, the Friday, 2nd of December 2022. This is Dr. Masanga, live from London, and Miriam Ogutu, live from Nairobi, General Headquarters, across the continent of Africa. All of you in the world, those sleeping, those waking up, good morning, good evening, good night. Those who want to go to sleep, Africa is already awake. It is a time for us to talk about our continent, and this is the show that we shall introduce shortly. Good morning, Wanda Wesonga in Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much. Let's first of all look at the news headlines. Miriam can give us the news headlines of Kenya, and then I'll move to the tough questions. This show is the tough questions that face the universe, the region, and Africa. We shall try as much as possible to answer them, and we shall have a talk between us and other people. If you want to join us by entering our Zoom number and the Zoom details that you see on our flyer, and you will learn quite a lot. Students who want to gain some information can also join us on that same number. Good morning, Miriam, in Nairobi.
A very good morning to you, and good morning to our viewers, wherever they're watching us. Good afternoon, good evening.
Thank you very much. I cue you in for the news headlines across Kenya and perhaps Africa. Then we move on to the topic in the next 6 minutes.
Very well. The leading newspapers in Kenya this morning: the Daily Nation, Junior High, Ruto reverses Uhuru's plan. And then in her father's footsteps, that is Charlene Ruto, is giving her story and how she's been involved in the public in the recent past. And 2027 factor in plot to reconstitute Polls Agency. That story is on page 4. And Kenya Kwanza to back powerful opposition office. You'll find that on page 5. The Star newspaper: women speak of the infertility pain, anguish. It feels like passing through the desert, no water and something to eat on his scorching sun. The story is on page 4 and 5. Raila loses round 1 as IEBC 4 face unceremonious exit. You'll find that inside there. Big win for parents as Ruto retains junior secondary in primary schools, and MPs defy Azimio protest, approve all PS nominees. Okay, the Standard newspaper: CBC shocker for parents and teachers after 3 days of sitting national exams. Grade 6 learners will remain in primary schools for the next 3 years, and the results will only be used to identify gaps in the new curriculum. These are among the radical measures the government has adopted after recommendations from experts. You'll find that story on page 8. And Muturi defies Supreme Court, okays the CDF. You'll find that on page 5. And fate of IEBC 4 now lies with President. You'll find that on page 10. We turn our attention now to some newspapers from across the continent of Africa this morning. We do have the Concord Times. I'm not sure where this is from, but fighting in Parliament. Speaker punches 3 APC MPs, deprives them of their parliamentary privileges. So this must be in APC. This must be in Nigeria. And then the former CJ.
Sierra
Leone. Okay.
Yes.
The former CJ was a steady, reliable pillar of justice. All right. That also we have there. And all right, from Liberia, indeed, even that one is from Liberia. The front page: big fight has come, also from Liberia. Even the first one was from Liberia. Pretoria News from South Africa. President feels the heat. Sowetan from South Africa. Will he go? Will he stay? That is the headline. The Guardian from Nigeria. Again, Buhari accuses governance of stealing LG funds, slowing growth. And then The Nation from Nigeria. Still federal government. We supported states with 5.03 trillion naira in 7 years. Newsday from Zimbabwe, prices soar ahead of Christmas. And Daily News also from Zimbabwe. Hart Ramaphosa falls on his sword as South Africa finds itself in a president and political turmoil. And the New Vision from Uganda. NUP rift deepens. The Daily Monitor as well from Uganda. Government releases final agencies merger list. That is what we have in some of the regional newspapers from the continent.
Thank you very much, Miriam. From across the United Kingdom, the Metro newspaper says Germany is out of the World Cup. What tears we have. And then it has a front story of Meghan and Harry, and they say now it is our turn. I don't know the turn to rock the day after race rocks Paris success unleash the Netflix trailer. I think they have done a film that shows they were actually discriminated in the palace. This kingdom has never given up having difficulties. That is the Metro. The Guardian says NHS union chiefs meet to plan joint Christmas strike. Strikes all over Miriam. And then the ladies, games changers, referees makes history at Qatar. Women ladies are on the front page of the Guardian. Of course, the team that is Germany is out is one of the headlines. They can't believe that Japan has beaten Germany. And it is painful, especially when they remember the Second World War, Miriam. Some people have cried tears. Daily Telegraph, number 10 rolls back on university free speech. They are given people in the university to have a free speech in the university, but it seems freedoms are beginning to be curtailed almost everywhere. The Sun, Prince and the Princess Meghan, Netflix ambush. They have a film coming out. I don't know what they want to tell the world on this time. Hancock reveals the bonkers plan to free prisoners during the lockdown. That is also a story on the Daily Express. Harry, do you really hate your family? That is the questions that the princess and the prince are asking the former Harry and Meghan. They have beef with the royal family. And the Daily Mail says it's the same. Football is on the top. Declaration of war. Netflix trailer, allies of William and Kate say is declaration of war on his brother. And the bonkers COVID plan to release prisoners. This man is going ahead as a secretary of health to do his reality show, and it has caused quite a lot of problems. That is the end of our news roundup from the United Kingdom. Back, Miriam, to our topic, the tough questions. And I request that it is recorded as it is from now. Many people in the world raise tough questions. And they raise tough questions. They need tough answers. And they need specific answers. In Africa, we have so many unanswered questions. So many things have happened on our continent. changes have come on our continent, but we have never answered some of the questions as to why we find ourselves in such a circumstance, and such circumstances like the way we find ourselves with military coups coming back on the continent of Africa in most of the parts, conflicts coming in most of the parts of Africa, economy going down, corruption killing us in most part of Africa, impeachments, terrorism, security breaches, countries being taken over by terrorists and terror cells that bomb people day in, day out. But does Africa tell its story? Where do we get all this courage not to tell our story? This show, the tough questions, need tough answers. This show is introduced by the Punchline Africa TV, and by myself. I will be tabling tough questions every Friday. Get tuned on this show. When you get our clip, look at it, listen to us. If you have something to add on to what we have talked, come up and tell us. Africa needs to tell its story. Do we tell our story, or we copy just what and how the media in the West has been programmed? Do we sit in front of the prompter and talk about things that we don't know? Do we think about what we are talking about? Do we answer the real questions? Do we take tough questions, hide them? Why do we always beg? Why do we always talk about hunger? Yet we have plenty of what other people don't have. Israel, for example, does not have the laxity that we have in Africa. No rainfall, no rivers, only a desert. But it produces enough food. Isn't it time, therefore, for Africa to stand up and start asking the tough questions? This show, therefore, will be a show every Friday and a Monday for tough questions at the beginning of the week and tough questions at the end of the week on Africa and the global and the regional news. If you have any tough question that has never been answered by anybody, send it to us on africastrategy@hotmail.com. That is my email. And call us. On Monday, we shall introduce the calling in on these tough questions. You can call us and ask us a question via telephone, and you will be heard worldwide. And that is why I brought this show, the tough questions. Thank you very much, viewers. Here we begin today on a great note. I am going to address the heads of state of Africa. Your Excellencies, the presidents of Africa and heads of government of Africa. On 13th to 15th of December, you have been called or summoned or invited by His Excellency, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, to the White House in Washington, D.C. Your Excellencies, as you troop into Washington, D.C., 49 of you, excluding countries like Mali, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Mali, and Burkina Faso, that have been left out of the 54 countries to go to United States of America. As you troop in the White House and sit and honor the invite, what role then are you taking? What capacity are you going there You are going there as a representative of the African continent, the continent that has been talked about in all spheres, in the UN, in the Commonwealth, in AU, in all countries, Africa is talked about. The 49 heads of state that will sit in the White House with plus so many other businessmen and businesswomen, NGOs that have been called by Joe Biden, is to go and find out how best America can make for African people. But the key point that I want to make today as I release this letter to you, my heads of state, fellow Africans, is the question of sanctions against one of you, called the people of Zimbabwe. Today, as we speak, the people of Zimbabwe are under the sanctions of United States of America that has imposed and changed and increased, subtracted sanctions at will of who should be added, who should not be added, which has made the suffering of the people of Zimbabwe as we speak today. I've made this step for you, heads of state, which will be cut to you and sent to you. Mr. President, Mr. Heads of State, heads of government, as you sit in that room, before you is President Joe Biden, the same man who has heaped sanctions on the people of Zimbabwe. I am lobbying you and putting forward a lobbying hand, putting forward this document, which I will surrender to the public in a few minutes from now, that these are the questions that you should ask in unity as a united Africa. The removal of sanctions that I have struggled as a lone ranger for the last 22 years to fight to remove sanctions on this country called Zimbabwe. I am not a Zimbabwean. Neither have I benefited out of anything in Zimbabwe. But I feel a pity as a person who saw Zimbabwe then, and a person who has seen Zimbabwe during, and a person who is seeing Zimbabwe now. This nation needs to re-engage. It must be re-engaged. It must be allowed into a trading partnership. It must be given loans, grants, like any other nation. IMF, World Bank must come back to give Zimbabwe a hand that gives them the food. Otherwise, the masses of the people of Zimbabwe are dying, suffering from diseases that could be curable if they had the access to international markets, to international banking, to international economic zones where they can sell their diamonds, their gold, their timber, their foodstuffs without hindrance. Tony Blair triggered sanctions against Zimbabwe. In 1998, I stood tall in Brighton in the hall and said, why don't we engage the people of Zimbabwe? Why don't we engage President Mugabe instead of isolating President Mugabe? The late Mugabe died. The new president of Zimbabwe has returned. He's on the stage. Still, the Americans have not removed the sanctions. They still make Zimbabwe and Zimbabweans suffer. How long then will these sanctions? And isn't it this the right time for African heads of state to show solidarity and a unity by all of them, 49 heads of state, in the presence of Joe Biden, seated in front of Joe Biden, to pass a resolution that sanctions must be removed from one of them who will be in the hall, who has been accompanied by his delegation for the first time to enter outside the premises of United Nations. They are going to Washington, D.C., and you know very well, since 2002, no Zimbabwean official has ever stepped in the White House. This is historical. And therefore, being historical, the Africans united, the African Union, their secretariat, the 49 countries that have been invited, that have honored this invitation. I lobby you. I ask for you to give me one last thing on planet Earth, which I have been struggling for the last 20 years as a Lone Ranger in Britain, in the European Union, defending the position of the people of Zimbabwe. Your Excellency Joe Biden, look at us in Africa, look at Zimbabwe. The few reasons given are flimsy. Human rights have improved tremendously. The United Nations envoy for human rights spent 1 month in Zimbabwe to investigate, to find out if there were human rights and gross misconduct by the government of Zimbabwe. They found nothing. Is it the time, therefore, that since the UN itself, that is a guardian of human rights, has exonerated the people of Zimbabwe, do we go on using fake dossiers, fake documents to isolate Africa? I would like to remind President Biden that Libya was bombed on doctored documents, doctored intelligence. The French and plus Cameroon, the former Prime Minister of Britain, doctored evidence to destroy Libya, which was a case study in Africa's economic enhancement, welfare, state, and the management of its educational status. Why do we make countries suffer? Yet we want development. I beg you, heads of state, your excellencies, all of you who will assemble in Washington, D.C., to take this message seriously, lobby the American administration to lift sanctions, targeted or otherwise, from the country called Zimbabwe. I rest my case. I now release the document officially, which the team in Nairobi should put on this platform right now as I release the document. I thank you very much. The question that still lingers, the tough question is, will the United States of America, given the invite they gave to African Union heads of state to Washington between 13th to 15th, remove sanctions on one of the countries that they have invited, which will be seated in the White House on those 2-3 days in America? I rest my case, and therefore I leave that tough question for the panel later on to handle it. Thank you very much. God bless you, that Africa. I have struggled for this. I have waited for this opportunity, therefore. Let's hope His Excellency President Joe Biden will look at the matter again. We look at Zimbabwe and remove these sanctions from which are obnoxious, that are killing the masses, but not hurting the leadership. The leadership needs to be free in order to look for food, for medicines, for facilities, and other policy making instruments for the country of Zimbabwe. Long live Africa. Long live Zimbabwe. Long live the rest of you. Welcome to the Tough Questions show. I hope it's recorded very well, and that message will go. Miriam, that was my first kicker, first message. And I will be doing those type of things on countries like Somalia, on countries like DRC Congo, on countries like Ethiopia, on countries like Uganda, on countries like Djibouti. I will be doing the kickers. And the big question, will the United States of America remove the illegal imposed sanctions on Zimbabwe? Thank you. I leave it that way. And then we go straight to our show and our questions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show again, Miriam. Nazi Omar, you are welcome from London, where you are right now. Wanda, you are welcome where you are right now. Your Excellency, Doctor, I will call you shortly. His Excellency, sir. I will give you a call in a few minutes. I'm on a direct line. His Excellency, sir. Yeah, okay. Shortly. Okay. I'm sorry about that. That was one of the heads of state who was waiting for the letter. Oh my God. Your Excellencies, my panel, I have today changed the modus operandi of this, which will make life very easy for everybody on Friday so that we don't scratch. I and the Miriam have been maintaining the Friday scratching questions and tough questions across the continent of Africa during the weekdays. My first tough question comes from, and Miriam, take it from me. You can now, Wanda, Nazi Omar, welcome. Test your microphone, Nazi Omar.
Good morning, everybody. With us.
Thank you very much. My first question, the tough one. Nigeria is a state that has got difficulties. The war, terrorism, hunger, floods, corruption. The Ministry of Education in Nigeria, Miriam, the panel has decided that all primary school children in Nigeria shall be taught in their mother tongues. What is your say? Is it not a division of Nigeria further, which is already a candidate of ethnic caste? Let's go. All children in primary must. For example, Kenya. What did you say, Miriam? Surely Nigeria is divided to pieces. Biafrans want to go away. The Fulani want to go away. Now, when you say you want to teach these children What is the point? Are we not dividing the ethnic disturbances that are already, and you know, Nigeria is already a candidate. Miriam, my sister, take the first one on these tough questions.
All right, and I was just going through that story yesterday. I think what the Ministry of Education was proposing was especially for the earlier classes there, and the reason was because children understand better through their mother tongue. And I was surprised one time when I traveled to my village and I discovered, the nursery, the preschools, a lot of them are being taught in mother tongue because a lot of them, this is all they understand. So in the interest of having these children understand what they're being taught, the teachers have to use mother tongue. But the problem with that is for us here, we know Kiswahili is our national language, and then English. So at least when they get to certain classes where they're able to communicate better in these two languages, then it's easier for them to transit. But for Nigeria, I think they're trying to not to do away with English, but they're just saying these early classes, the children are supposed to, when they're taught in mother tongue, they'll understand better, which I think is kind of true. And we've seen countries where people use their own ethnic languages, China, Germany, France, and they're doing very well. But I think the challenge in Nigeria and many other African countries is because we do have all these other languages. So if perhaps they can get one language that can later on be used nationally, then perhaps that will be better. But I don't think it's anything unique. I've seen it happen in so many schools here in the country.
Wanda, before I come to Miriam, you have made very interesting. You say you see nothing wrong with it?
Yeah, my sister, my younger sister, after my parents moved to the village, she went to her preschool in the village. They're being taught in mother tongue, and she's doing very well now. I was shocked to learn that. I didn't know, but they were being taught in that early age in mother tongue. Yeah.
I think you have a point there. Mm-hmm. I was taught in mother tongue, Luganda. I can write Luganda very well. Even beat the Muganda himself.
This will strengthen our languages, Doc.
Okay. Is it? No, it is a question, a tough question. I am just, this is the way to discuss it. Wanda, you are a historian. And Miriam, I also concur with you partly. The biggest problem, the big question that I want Miriam, I will come back to you to answer, the cause of ethnicity in Africa. Wanda, before I come to Nancy, that's the way we should enjoy this thing on Friday. Thank you.
It's like Dr. Masanga, you just read my mind. The problem with Kenya is ethnicity, cut across.
Yes.
It has affected almost everything, our economy, our politics. And if we introduce tribalism at an early age, or we introduce the use of the vernaculars at an early age, then you are teaching these kids to divide themselves at an early age. They'll always appreciate their divisions. They will always want to be associated with that one who can speak their language different from the other ones.
No, but Miriam here says the sister went home and studied in the mother language.
The preschool, and that is what the Ministry of Education of Nigeria is suggesting, the early years, so that they're able to really understand what they're being taught, and then later on they can transit to perhaps English and any other, I think, other languages they use there.
In this case, they could be only addressing the mastery of content, but they'll forget the long-term impact. These learners...
No. Wanda, go slowly. What is the long-term impact? We are teaching people... No, listen. We are teaching people to read in Somali.
Yes.
What is wrong with that? One of the things that has united the Somali people is the language.
Yes.
is writing in Somali. So Miriam has a point here, Wanda. The biggest problem of Nigeria, which is the tough question, which I have brought. Now you can see, when I'm not there, Miriam, structure your questions that way, a finished.
Wanda, can I come in and help you?
No, Wanda hasn't finished. We can't leave off because yes, Wanda finished.
Wanda finished?
We are talking about Nigeria.
Okay.
We are not
Yes.
talking about Kenya. Nigeria say they have to learn the language, mother tongue, kwanza, in primary. CBC. In Kenya, I don't know, I heard from on my phone while I was going to the train that you have changed something to do with CBC or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here, I read CBC. Look at me wearing linen today. I read CBC. I knew everything. In London, your child comes from school. You should be able, let me tell you, if you don't look at the child's work, the child could have been beaten, scratched, beaten up, bullied. But that is a subject for you people in Kenya. We are looking at Nigeria. Nigeria, with ethnicity. The Biafrans want to go their way. The Fulani, the Hausa. The Fulani don't talk to Biafrans. The Igbo don't like the Fulani. The Fulanis cut down the Igbo. Is it better for us to talk about teaching the children to start? Is it a sense of nationalism? Tough question.
I still believe it is a mistake. It is a mistake because they are only addressing the fact that these children understands better when they are taught, when someone teaches them or they are taught using their mother tongue. But now, this is a country that is already having an issue with ethnicity. And if we introduce ethnicity at an early age and in schools, the dangers are you are further promoting ethnicity from that early age. If given the benefit of doubt that these children grows only using this official language as English, when the school could have been used as a unifying factor. But when it is introduced...
Excuse me, what is unifying?
The unifying factor in this, it is a language.
Does English unify you with your child? Or your mother tongue unifies you with your child? Yeah, we are here now.
Yes.
If you can think about it, let's bring in Nazi, because it looks like you are going to be the odd man tonight out of this session. Nazi Omar from Mogadishu, from Somalia, but you are in London. You talk Somali, all of you. Everywhere you find the Somali in West Ham, in Streatham, in central London, in places, at the airport, now in Heathrow, 3/4 of the jobs of taxis, the black taxis, are manned by Somali nationals and the Ethiopians and the Ugandans. And that's very great. But you see, they still speak the same. Not Omar. Nigeria is...
Thank you very much. First, Somali is a race. Being a Somali is not only a language. We share a language. We're the only people. Our race, our race, and our language that is one. That means you do not need an interpreter or somebody else to explain to you that from one corner of Somalia, Ras Aser to Loya Adde, that is corner to Somalia, they all speak one language. What has been improved on that sense is the regime of Siad Barre introduced and tried to get a literacy level in Somalia high in writing now the language. The language had to be written. so that the curriculum and everything else to be taught in Somali. So the Somali language has to be written down, and that is what was done. But now we come back to Nigeria. Do all Nigerians speak the same mother tongue? When you say a mother tongue is the native language that you speak. So are all Nigerians speaking the same language? No. Can you go from one end of Nigeria to the other end and understand each other in one language? I believe not. The same applies in Kenya. The same applies in Uganda. So what would be the solution? For me, I think this is it's a political move, as simple as that. Let me put it that way. It's a political move to give each tribe in Nigeria something to call theirs, some sense of ownership. Oh, my kid is being taught at an early stage in my own language. So everybody can adapt their own language. What that creates is a barrier of these kids. How are they going to interact? How are they going to be talking to each other if everybody is talking a different language? If you ask me, way forward for all Pan-Africanism is to adopt the Swahili language, which is spoken in many African countries, and that to be the national language of Pan-Africanism. I yield my mic.
You have yielded the mic by dodging carefully, not to touch us. But I and Miriam, we still, you and Dauda, you seem to be in the same boat. I and Miriam,
but they've also defended their points very well. But what I'd like to tell, and I understand her concerns. Like I said, my sister, I was shocked that she was being taught in mother tongue, and I found it very interesting because I all my life I went to school in the city. But she's, after all, I think higher primary from class 4, they were being taught in English as well. And she's very good in it. She's actually a journalist like me, so that did not hinder her from having any issues as far as communicating is concerned. The concern this Ministry of Education is having is that kids, because perhaps maybe in the villages, in town, it's fine. We have a better understanding, and we've been exposed to English and in Swahili at a very early age, so we are able to master this even at a very young age. But in the villages, the reality is different. You find that you're being raised with your grandma who never went to school, or even your parents who never went to school. So this is the language that you speak in the household. So when you go perhaps to school and you're being taught in English and you're not able to fully understand it. So it is just a way to allow these kids to just adopt as far as this language is concerned. So as they proceed with their learning at a class where it's comfortable, then they'll be able to fully now communicate in the national language, which is English. But also I understand what you're saying, that
But can I just ask, is there a village in Kenya that they do not speak Swahili?
Oh, you'll be surprised. There are people who were born and raised in this country who don't speak Swahili. Yeah. But I do understand your point when you're saying, like, the example you've given in Somalia, when you go to one point of Somalia to the next, it's just one language, so that is not a problem. So that could be a challenge. Say, if I have to move from, Mandera, and perhaps my family relocates to Kisii, and my children goes to school there, and they're not able to understand the local language there, because if at all the school chooses to teach it in the local language, so that will be a challenge. So I think that is also a challenge that we have to address. That is apparent.
Miriam, I have to be very honest here. In my house, I and my wife, we speak fluent Luganda. Our last born daughter, when we start speaking Luganda, she said, "Shut up." Shut up! What is this? What? Speaking the language I understand. No. Sorry. My daughter, you might be watching me. That is, discussing you in a bad way. Shut up! What type? That's a very bad language. Now, because she understands, she picks. Some of my elder children, especially the first one, picks. Miriam picks a few words. You can speak in Uganda, say okay, but they're all Ugisu, my language. But the rest, what is this man talking about? In fact, they even tell me, what's your problem, you, with your vernacular? You know? Now, now if things are like that in London, what about in Nigeria? Where ethnicity is a tough question, is a curse. The country is going down, then you introduce taking it to a hole. Nigeria has dug itself to a hole. Then you now bring in language, mother language, where the Fulanis will only learn Fulani. Igbos will only learn Igbo language. Hausa will talk Hausa. Yoruba will talk Yoruba. Now, are you not preparing a time bomb? There you are. This is a tough question. You see, all of us on this audience, we are quiet. Is it not a time bomb?
Dr. Matanga, for me, I think I told you, I think the reason why the Nigerian government is choosing to do this is a political statement. It's not a benefit to the nation. It's not benefit to Nigerian people. Since every Nigerian is going on about the ethnicity and the right of their language, and this has increased in the last few years, and everybody wants their language to be the language that is being recognized. Guess what? Everybody teach your child from this class to that class in your own language, which means it's a political move to appease everybody. But in the long run, how are those kids going to interact with each other? If I move from one area and go to the other area, how am I gonna be communicating with these other kids in class? That is what we're talking about. Not communication outside the class, but in class. How am I going to communicate with my teacher? When it comes to teaching your child your mother tongue, it does not matter. I left Somalia when I was a little girl, but I speak Somalia like somebody who has never came out of Somalia. I speak Swahili as somebody who was born in Kenya and never came out of Kenya. So the main point is teaching your child your mother tongue is a responsibility of a parent. It's the language that should be taught at home. But when you go out there, there should be a language that unifies everybody else. If they do not want to use English and find that English is they want to distance themselves from English, then they should choose a language which I think should be the Pan-African language, which is Swahili. But for the president of Nigeria, I think it's a political decision to appease everybody, because everybody is going on about their language, about their differences, about the rights that they have. Their schools don't teach their own languages. So guess what? Here you are, everybody, teach your own language and keep quiet. Dwell on that for a bit while I do something else on the other side and shift the focus on the main things and the main problems in Nigeria.
So you're questioning the intention of this move?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I hear you.
I think I also agree with Nazi that intention. What is the intention?
Yeah.
Wanda, quickly. A tough question, isn't it? You see, Wanda, that's the type of discussion we are looking for. Tough question. Yes. What is the intention that Buhari wants to? He wants to do some other things.
Buhari is on his way out.
He has a lot of pressure, floods, terrorists.
Exactly, the intention could be political because Nigeria is a tribal nation. of which you look at the struggles, the Igbo. Therefore, if you introduce tribalism in schools using a tribe, a vernacular language to teach children, then in fact it does not address the national goals of education in Nigeria, of which when you look at the national goals of Nigeria, they talk about living in unity and harmony as one. Therefore, if it's living in unity and harmony as one of their national goals of education, then we are here introducing vernacular at an early age. Is it not diverging from the national goals of education that they set themselves? Therefore, as my sister Nazul is putting it, it has something to do with politics and probably further dividing the nation in the tribal line, making one tribe either feel attached or feel represented in the whole system. But it is a bad move that will further divide the nation, that will further ruin their national goals of education with the specification living in unity and harmony as Nigerians.
Okay, let's move on to question number 2. It's a tough question. Tough questions only. Very interesting. Still in West Africa. While Nigeria is making, so you can see from our discussion, Nazi and Wanda and Miriam, someone in Africa is learned. I've learned today that Miriam's sister just went back to the local language.
Ali, a preschool.
Ali, and she's
even
perfect.
Today, they're still using it.
I hope she's the one on this.
Never
she's
affected.
perfect. You have never interacted with that lady on phone. She's very perfect. And I've watched her on TV several times. Very excellent. Good communicator.
So, Doc, perhaps how do we embrace our local languages? And I think Nazir said that is something we teach at home. But when we go there, we need a unifying language, which I agree with her. But how do we embrace our diversity without using it to be a point where we get divided as a people? Because we should be able to celebrate our languages and all these things that makes the big community of who Africa we are.
I think the British started speaking English, and they are united, more united than us. So if we teach our local people the languages, we are instilling a sense. I'm now answering.
For instance, Doc, you've given an example of your younger kids who were raised in London who don't understand your language. My son also doesn't, and I'm not very proud of that. I feel very ashamed that he can't speak my. So if I would have gotten a school where he would have been taught in mother tongue, probably. It's not something I'm proud of.
Miriam, you said what would unify the kids. That is why we should have within the school system a culture day where everybody brings their culture, where that they bring everybody brings their own culture into school, and everybody celebrates that culture, embraces it, see the different kind of food they use, the different kind of dances they do, the different kind of language they speak. These things are the things that the school can do as a program, so everybody knows what happens with the other culture, and embrace it that way. You're being told to be together. At the same time, you're different, but embrace your differences. So that is one thing. The other thing about the language that you say, yes, it's absolutely, I am going to say that it's a failure as a mother not to teach your kids your mother tongue. My kids are born in England, but yes, they do speak Somali and they do speak Swahili, and they're in England and they're born in England. So and that makes me proud. If we have a culture day, they choose whether they want to do the Swahili dishes or any Kenyan dish, or they want to do the Somali dish, and that is their choice. So it's something that we need to embrace and embed the kids, that it is a language, it is a culture, but it does not segregate you from the other community as well. So you're teaching tolerance, you're teaching people to be inquisitive at a young age on knowing how this other side talk, how they eat, how they live, what are their cultures. These are the things that has to be embedded in the school curriculums, but it does not mean the language has to be.
Okay.
My sister Nazi Oma brings it more complicated. Mine like to eat, they want to eat matoke and everything I've cooked, which is Ugandan. But when you tell them,
It's just the language they don't want.
they tell you, we are finishing quickly, we are going down, we have some other things to do. And there is that sense of rule of law for everybody. You can't force them.
So Omar has said, me and you, we failed somewhere there. We need to teach these kids the languages.
The what?
We need to teach these children our languages. So me and you, we've failed somewhere there, which is
I'm telling you, because
I'm
for
not
example,
proud.
a tough question is, you go somewhere, people want to beat you to steal your money, and they have put you down as a father. You must be able in your language to tell your child, run, go and tell uncle so and so. But now you are supposed to speak in English. The man killing you with a bullet will shoot you because you have to communicate in English. That's why you see Nazi Oma is laughing behind there. In London, if the police want to come to arrest my Somali friends in Streatham, there's a place called Streatham Medium, South East London, where they all came and created, they took over the whole town of Streatham with shops, with good restaurants. I encouraged them. They found me there. I had an off-license. And I had an off-license liquor shop and an office where I used to do immigration work for refugees, filling their forms. My friend, these guys, when they see police coming, they could communicate in Somali. And all of them, all of a sudden, the police say, what? Everybody is running away. Now for you, a Ugandan or a Kenyan who knows only English, you are telling, oh, Miriam, run away. You see, that man is coming to take your car or clamp your car. Yeah, the question of clamping the car. When they want to clamp the car, there is this problem. They call, they say, Anakuja is coming. You see all of them going out, even leaving some things, even if it's money on the table, they go into their cars and they go quickly. How have they communicated? Let's move on. It is a very interesting subject. That's why I'm saying the tough questions. Ethnicity is the curse of Nigeria. Can the mother tongue in schools create peace, or it will divide people more, or it is a political statement as Nazir has put it? Otherwise, I still stand that the local languages are very good to instill the sense of patriotism. Thank you. Number two, we shall go quickly and finish. Let's not waste much time on it. But the subject widens as we engage. Number two is Mali. Mali is abandoning French in the capital city, Bamako. All schools from yesterday will teach a language called Bambari. It shall be the official language, no more French. Voilà. My question, and the tough question is, I start with Miriam. Is this total liberation?
total liberation because they're going to embrace their own language and they're distancing themselves from French because they're falling out with France. As Omar would say, that is another political move that perhaps the government has not even thought of. And we've seen these erratic decisions that the new Mali junta has been making as far as that country is concerned, and in its effort to try to distance itself from France as much as it can. All right, so you're asking if it is a total liberation. It would be, but again, it's not, because they're liberating themselves from what? Just using your language is not enough. You want to do away with France, but you're also flirting and you're very cozy with Russia. Do you want to do away with France so that you start acting as an independent African country who can make its own decisions and can manage its own affairs? No. You are just trying to spite France so that and show them that you can be with another country, which is Russia right now. It's in the country. The Russian mercenaries are in the country, and we've seen what has been happening in Mali. So this is not total liberation. It's just a spite on France's face, and this decision being made in a way that is erratic might affect a lot of kids in that school. Perhaps the children who come from parts of Mali who don't speak, this language, or perhaps don't understand it well. So I think there are some things that must be thought through before government makes certain erratic, decisions. So this is not total liberation. It's just jumping from one foreign power to the next, and they will continue being a puppet, and the puppet masters will continue doing what they do in that country.
There you are. Nazir, before I come to Mr. Wanda, what is your point here? Miriam has raised very serious points. If I were Mali, I would move very fast and run Maurice and go away. Because they have already distanced themselves from the French. They are now telling their children, all of them, everybody in Bamako City, speak Bambari. But there is a problem, Miriam, before Nazir comes in. You know what has killed Mali are tribal enclaves. There are two, the Houthis and another group, the south and the north.
Yeah, the Tuaregs and three other groups in the north and the south. And
yes. Who operate more like the Talibans.
Yeah, the Southerners thought they are the elites, they're the ones who are better off. And
the Tourés, Touré and so on, those, the leadership, the class, the elite. Mm-hmm. So that one could also fuel more ethnic internal differences that could spill the country further. Nazir Omar.
For me, I actually agree. Before we would see the Western powers or the colonial powers were actually physically coming into these African countries and doing something. But now they have a very easy and simple weapon. If you want to look at any African country, be it Somalia, where the language is one, but then they would go into tribalism. So the puppet master has changed his tactics, the same way we were saying Al-Shabaab has changed his tactics. They have adapted, they have known, they have studied, and one thing they know is the only way to now divide them is to make one of them, tell them one is superior than the other one, and in that sense, everybody would be, no, I am more superior than you are. And now it becomes a war of language. It's not a war of language. It's not a war of tribalism. It's what we Africans are meant to believe, that this is what separates us. This is what makes us different. Instead of embracing it and make it something that unites us. So for me, still, all these issues are political issues, and they're not addressing the core problems on the ground.
Thank you. Political issues. Are they, one question, the tough one, that comes to you, Nasi Omar. If the French wanted to assimilate us to speak like we were eating frogs, Don't you think this man is doing the correct thing? So that you don't say bonjour, aramezo, ale, aramezo. What do you think?
If I say bonjour, or if I say comment ça va, or
no,
if
you are
I
now
say
saying comment ça va in English, but the French say comment ça va.
that's fine, but it doesn't matter. And if I say skawaran or wahoruaku, still at the end of the day, the meaning is the same.
Wahoruaku means what? That is.
Wahoruaku, niwega. See? Or I say natayu, I become a mukamba and say natayu, and at the end of the day, it all translates to how are you. It does not matter what language it is. But the problem is, yes, I can say let me distance myself from the French, but is it the language that has colonized me? Is it the language that has been taking my minerals? Is it the language that has been making my country poor, or is it the policies that are coming from them that was making me and putting me where I am? This is one thing we need to differentiate. Let's not make an issue where it's a non-issue. Yes, speaking French is actually an advantage for them because now they understand what their colonizer is doing or what they're trying. As the way you say it, you understand mwenye anataka kukuiba kitu anasema. But the bottom line is, why are we now, all of a sudden, if you look everywhere, it's now tussle-tussle of language. The language is not an issue. Speak whatever language you want, but it's why are we being... The focus is being taken away from the actual problems that are on the ground, the actual issues that are on the ground, to a minor thing such as language. Language is not a person, it's a word that comes out of your mouth. You can learn any language, and it shouldn't be a barrier. If anything, a language should be a breaking barrier, that you learn different languages, you become a linguistic, and you can communicate with everybody in the world.
Okay, thank you very much. Historian Wanda, what's your view?
Anger is perceived as short madness. But when someone is angry, one will easily define them as one who is shortly mad. Now, what is happening with Mali and France is simply anger. The history of Mali married with Ahmad with so many coups that they got to some point when they went on streets, then they say they don't want France. Therefore, anything associated or attached to France is now making people from Mali mad at it. Therefore, the struggle or these are rushed to ensure that they do away with the French as a language. It's simply a statement of intent that we purpose to walk away from you. We don't want anything to do with you. We have had enough from you. Therefore, it's simply anger that is making Mali react the way they are reacting.
Anger. To me, the question remains, would you be subjected to what is happening to a language that does not like you? Would you?
Definitely no.
Thank you. Let's move on. You see, Wanda, you see how we are knocking points quickly? Would you? They have taken a stand. And I think the person who is remaining on the safeguard line is Nazi. He says it is political. But Nazi, I'm going to corner you. Let's go on another one. The tough questions. Continue with the tough questions now. This is now the subject that Miriam and I and all of us on the platform have been talking about for the whole week. The president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, addresses his nation and says he's planning a small military operation in DRC Congo. He said it in so many things. Some of you have seen the clips. And they said Kabila did not win an election. And they said he did not win an election anyway. And they said the banana leaves that you think cannot tie you, can tie you. And they said those who are coming into Congo conflict must be very careful. So, Miriam, is he justified, given that the security situation in Democratic Republic of Congo has never improved for almost 20 years since MONUSCO? Is it
MONUSCO.
MONUSCO. 15,000 troops of MONUSCO. He says they have never even tried to fight FLDR, the Hutu militants who fled there, who pose a security threat to his country. That they have never. And he says, instead they have now turned to fight only the so-called terrorist M23, whom they call a terrorist group, but they don't fight FRDR, which is the Hutu militant group, funded, equipped through the auspices of the Congo government. Have we then, the question is he justified to state what he said yesterday? And if so, do you think the other people in this conflict are sincere, including the government of Congo itself? Are they sincere? And if so, the rebels that claim to be assembled, what peace are they going to bring to DRC Congo? Do you see any peace coming in DRC Congo in the nearby future, maybe?
First of all, Doc, the latest report on this conflict, have it here, is heavy fighting between the Congolese army and M23 rebels has resumed. Remember, they had a ceasefire last Friday, but the fighting has resumed in the east of the country, threatening a truce announced last week. Both the military and the rebels have confirmed the clashes. Thousands of people are fleeing the fighting in North Kivu province, and dozens are reported to have been killed. Rwanda and DRC agreed to talk in Angola that a ceasefire would take effect last Friday. The M23 say the truce did not concern them and they were not invited to the talks, and the story continues. So, Doc, you asked, is Paul Kagame or Rwanda justified, given the security situation in eastern Congo, and that Rwanda is planning to have a small military operation in DRC? Are they not already doing that, allegedly, according to the information that is out there? And when you look at those sentiments that were made by Rwanda's President Paul Kagame, if it does not worry even these mediators, then they should. And perhaps as we were having this conversation here yesterday, Rwanda said for the first time Paul Kagame was able to open up, and now we know what he has been thinking and his opinion and Rwanda's position as far as this conflict is concerned, because for a long time all Rwanda would say is that we deny those allegations. We are not supporting M23, but they've never been able to say much. So to hear President Paul Kagame talk the way he was talking on Wednesday and actually opening up, and the things that he was saying, for instance, President Felix Tshisekedi is just trying to delay elections, and he was not even duly elected anyway, so, and things like that. I think he overstepped, and these are matters that are heavy that I think the mediators should find a way to address some of these sentiments that he was raising. But perhaps what stood out for me was what he said, that when this conflict started, he reached out to President Tshisekedi because he wanted to help Tshisekedi fight this rebel group, but he also said we must fight the FDLR as well at the same time. And so Tshisekedi was not agreeing with him. So you wonder, because he did not agree with you, so now is it true that true or not that you're supporting M23? So it's a bit confusing, but there are some truths in what he was saying. And if these mediators could just investigate further and have a conversation with Rwanda's President Paul Kagame, maybe we'll be able to know where really the problem is as far as solving this conflict is concerned. And it is quite unfortunate that heavy fighting has returned in this area after a week of silence.
Oh, the question is, did he himself win an election?
That is not his problem.
The problem is DRC Congo.
DRC has a president. That is the fact. Yeah.
But you are right, Miriam. Let me tell you.
How he won is not Kagame's problem.
Nancy Oma and Wanda, let's relax on this. And Miriam, you see, I have a problem with the Democratic Republic of Congo government. A very huge problem, surely. You cannot have all that resources, all those resources, everything at your disposal. Yesterday I was on a platform of M23. They begged me and they said, please, Elida, we know you, come and talk. I went to their platform. I think, Nazi, you found me there. I was Wanda. Who was there? It was tough. And when I talked, I cooled most of them down. They started saying, oh, why don't you come and talk to us that way? Very nice. Look, I asked you one question. Another lady asked me that if you were Dr. Matanga, if you are appointed the president of Democratic Republic of Congo, what would you start doing? I said I would first of all start assembling a very good commando unit army, an army of good 10,000 to 15,000 men. We'll train them for 6 months, then we go. Create security first. Because it seems that every government in Congo that goes to power stays in Kinshasa for the last 4 years. It stays there in a car huko. Wajui what is Congo is one country where you don't know. You hear by radio in the same country that earthquake hit Kisangani. There are people in Congo, Pichimis, some of them, they don't even know that Mobutu died a long time ago. There are people in Congo who did not vote. Miriam, you were here with me. When we did the elections last time, they said 2.5 million people did not vote. Now, the rebels who are here will return home, find they have been taken over by another rebel commander. And you don't even return to your base. That complication, therefore, is it justifiable? Somebody drew the map behind there of Congo. They drew the map and the blue area, Ituri, North Ituri, and the Kivu province. This is where the fight is. This is where the Banyamulenge are, the Rwandese, so-called, whom they call the Rwandese Congolese. They don't want in that country. I had a question. Wonder, is it time to rearrange Congo?
In fact, when you look at Congo, and that is the conflict now that is so clear between Paul Kagame and Felix Tshisekedi, that according to the statements that Kagame gave out, he clearly told us that he at some point wanted to assist President Tshisekedi to fight FDLR, that is the FDLR. which is accused, or which was accused to have being responsible for the 1994 genocide in that is against the Tutsi. Now, Kagame was almost telling us that Tshisekedi is dining with FDLR to punish the Tutsi. And the Tutsi are too close to the heart of Kagame. And therefore, on that one alone, Kagame and Tshisekedi cannot sit on the same table. The question, therefore, what is generally happening in Congo, and the question if we should now do the Yugoslavia thing in Congo. Yes, it has gotten to a point when these leaders need to be put on the table. They be asked what they want. Then if it's possible, let us divide Congo, if that will mean that the innocents will stop suffering. Because in this case, the two big boys are making the innocents suffer. I wish President Tshisekedi came out and reacted to the allegations or the accusation from Paul Kagame. Like we have this case of he refused to be helped deal with the FDLR. Then a question on him wanting to get involved into the elections in the DRC. I still feel like President Kagame is not sincere. And if he tells us that Tshisekedi did not fairly win, then does it mean that he was supporting someone and is still angry that this person did not win? I yield.
Thank you. Can I come in?
Yes, the thing is there. Are you? We are battling this down.
Yes.
What is your view?
My view is very simple. First, to begin with, when Uhuru Kenyatta and mediators were trying to intervene in this matter, the first thing was we cannot have M23 on the table. They're not recognized, and we will not have them on the table. Now, is everybody being honest about ending this war? The people who are involved. If they are honest, then you would have dialogue with everybody. Having a dialogue does not mean you're defeated or you are weak. That is number one point. And number 2 point, the farther you look into this issue, if the president of Congo cannot say that he agrees with one rebel group and the other rebel group does not exist. Now, what is the claim of M23? M23, their claim is we are not recognized as Congolese, and we have every right to be in Congo and fight for our rights and fight for our people and fight for our recognition. We have been forgotten in refugee camps for over 2 decades, and we are here. This is our motherland, this is our homeland, and we are part of this country. Now, where does that take you? It takes you back to the one rebel group is fighting for Hutu, M23 is fighting for Tutsi. You have Paul Kagame, who's a Tutsi. You have the other, the Congo president, who's a Hutu. Now this thing becomes division instead of it becoming a solution and bringing people together. The statement coming from Paul Kagame, perhaps in one way he's unveiled the actual situation and the reality and the truth of whatever diplomacy cards he was holding close to his chest without revealing it. But maybe now he's decided to reveal those cards and get to the core issue. The core issue is Hutu and Tutsi. Are we seeing a repetition now of what happened in Rwanda? And how should this be stopped? And that is what people need to focus on. Because if a Tutsi is being told, no, you're not a Tutsi, you're a Rwandese, go back to Rwanda, that would bring a lot of problem. Reason I'm not even recognized as a rebel group and to come and sit and on the negotiation table, but a part of another rebel group is recognized by a government. A government should not recognize any rebel group. A government should be fighting with all rebel groups equally, and if it's to find a solution, should be talking to all rebel groups equally, but you cannot pick and choose. So that, with that said, the president of Congolese is affirming and asserting the grievance that the M23 are having and saying that we are not recognized as Congolese, by him saying that they cannot come on the table, but the other militia group or whatever, they can come to the table of a negotiation. So, and I think Paul Kagame is coming from that end. Is it adding fire into the fuel? Yes, it is. Is it unveiling the actual core of the problem? Yes, it is. So both ways.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Doug?
Yes. Okay, Miriam. Where do we move from here? Where do we move from here? So, in a nutshell, the hard question, the tough question is this. Are the stakeholders in the Congo conflict sincere? A quick answer, Miriam. Yes or no?
No, not all of them.
Wanda?
They are not. And can I add one statement, sir?
Wait. I'll give you time to add. Nothing.
No one is sincere. No, none of the stakeholders are sincere.
I also said the same. There's something stated. All actors are not sincere. Something we don't know.
But the mediators could be, I mean, President Uhuru Kenyatta is sincere in wanting to, he's a stakeholder in that, in the mediation process.
The actors, we are talking about the actors on the ground.
Yeah, on the mediation, process.
The mediators are neutral, but the actors on the ground, I don't know how they selected to bring the rebels, the ones that are here. But by the time they reach back in Congo, I've already had rearrange Congo. You and I have talked about this. Can we rearrange Congo? What is the main problem of Congo? Ethnicity. Ethnicity. The Congolese of Kinshasa, of Lumumbashi, of North Congo, don't want to see the Banyamulenge of Eastern Congo. There you are. Let's be honest. Mediators, take a cue from here, from this table, from this. The tough questions. What do we do to Congo?
Daktari, the issue is, we're looking at things from the perspective of the actual stakeholders who claim to be representing these communities. And remember, whether he's a leader of a rebel group, whether it's the leader of that country, or whether it's the leader of the other rebel group, they're all there first and foremost. We are not sure if they are totally representing 100% the voices of those people. See, when it's a rebel group, they could say, yes, we're representing you, but then I could just be agreeing with them because I'm under them and I need that security and that protection from them, so they have my voice. But do they have my voice democratically? Free will. Is there any free will from the actual Congolese? Are they actually represented by these people? As you said, we've seen when they came back from the peace talk, some of them were not recognized anymore. They were, because they didn't say or they didn't speak. They were meant to be speaking, and they lost their seats or their representation, and they're told, hey, you've been replaced by so and so. You no longer are the lead in this matter. You're no longer the one who's representing us. So it's actually very frustrating when it comes to matters where it's conflicts and rebels. I think all the rebels should not be recognized. I think we should go back as Africans to resort into the way the African things were being resorted to. Go back to the villages, and where M23 is saying they're the ones who are controlling it, and they're the voice of the Tutsi, and go to where is it? The other rebel group, what's their name, whatever, go to where they are saying they're representing and speak to the locals, speak to the elders. Let's go back to the elderly system. Speak to the elders, the villages elders, and see if in private with amnesty, bring those old men out without anybody knowing, and bring those old men from the Tutsi clan, from the Hutu clan, and ask them, do these rebel groups actually represent you? What do you guys want? They're also stakeholders, including mothers, youth, and the elderly. And at the same time, have a different conversation with the two rebel groups and the government. That way, maybe we can find out actually where the truth lies.
Mm-hmm. Except there are about 133, but Paul Kagame told us there are 400 rebel groups, so it keeps changing, I guess. But
but he is saying he is going to do a small military operation into DRC. He said it yesterday. Yes.
So is
under whose authority, though? Under whose authority? Is it the American? Is it the American government of Africa now? The American police of Africa?
Can I also ask one question? Now, if you have people with guns near your house, very powerful guns than the panga you have in your house, what do you do? Nearby, they just pass nearby. You hear they are stopping people there, but you are in the house. Tough question.
But M23 has more sophisticated gun. He's not afraid of them, is he?
Or who has given them the sophisticated one?
So you cannot be scared of perhaps President Paul Kagame needs a session with the mediation team. He was almost touching the heart of the matter. Fell short a little bit, but perhaps that could lead us. If they could just talk to him, we could know what is the problem. Just part of that, because we know M23 alone is not the main problem in the DRC. There are other factors, but it could be a good start.
But Miriam, why is it the M23 is the most highlighted rebel group?
Because it's the one that is
Congo?
being funded, supplied, and very well equipped. But also, the government of Congo is also supporting the FDLR, the majority Hutu. So that is.
So the FDLR also should be as much as highlighted.
Absolutely.
But the FDLR is not a problem, but the M23 becomes a problem. I do not understand. Why are they not equally problematic, both of them?
They're all problematic.
They are problematic, but one is controlled, managed by Tshisekedi.
FDLR, yes.
Yes.
The FDLR. So the FDLR is okay because it's controlled and created by a government. Because the government is okay with it.
It is not which government? The government of Congo.
The DRC.
Because they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think
that's
okay
what I mean.
them.
The government of Congo is okay with the FDLR. It's not highlighting them. It's not seeing them as a problematic.
Allegations is they use the FDLR to fight the M23.
And that is why President Museveni was correct that if ADF was on their soil. And it is not going on the soil. It is not going anywhere. It is on their soil. And it is leaving that soil, passing through Mount Renzori, and coming all the way into Kampala city, bomb us allegedly, and disappear. Museveni said 10,000 troops, we are going. He took, you know, Chitakedi immediately said, come. So, equally, why can Kagame come out openly and say, I know where these guys are. At least for President Museveni, I support him on that. He asked for permission from, he asked for permission from Parliament and said, I am going to look for these guys, umundu, mutu kwa mutu, a person to person. Although he has not finished all of them, they are still there, but he's inside there. Instead of a proxy war. You see, if you ask why the M23 has sophisticated guns, nobody can tell you.
But I think also the point that Omar is bringing is very important because well, FDLR, which he believes are some of the Hutus that are part of the genocide in Rwanda, and they're being harbored and supported and equipped with the government, allegedly with the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why can't we fight all of them? Because I think that is the heart of why we see, why President Kagame's name is being mentioned in this.
Absolutely, that was my point all along. Exactly, why are they not equally the same? You know, focused.
The point then, I don't know the point.
M23, according to him, there are 400 rebel groups. That's what he said in that area. And his focus is, if we're going to fight M23, then we should fight all these other rebel groups, including the FDLR. He does. To some extent, he does.
Point.
But
Kagame has a point.
But what he's doing equally doesn't make it right.
Yes, Kagame has a point on that one. That even if you solve this one of the rebels that we are here, there are 400 of them. Me, I was looking at 123. Now he knows there are 400.
He's been counting.
Why don't we, as a stabilizing force, make it very mandatory that any force we find on the way, we either assimilate it or do away with it, kill them, arrest them, and we pacify.
The issue is the FDLR, the ones that are affiliated, so-called with the government of Congo, is not so much highlighted. It's not so much spoken about as much as the M23. So, okay, these other rebels in between, these are, I think the way the focus is being put on, they are non-consequential. Rebels that if these two main ones are sorted out, these other ones will just dissolve eventually and automatically, because there will be law and order asserted. So the main problem is the two main rebel groups. And what Paul Kagame and the point is, I think, highlighting is, why is the focus on these ones and not the ones that are affiliated with the Congolese president, the FDLR rebel group? Those two, the FDLR and the M23, should be equally on the same plight, should equally be seen the same as a threat. But the government does not see them as threat. They only see M23 to be a threat, and it's good to amplify that they equally a threat. But the rest of the rebels, I think they're non-consequential. They will dissolve. There are fractions that came out of these two major rebels. That's what I think.
All right. You see, Wanda, you had a point to make before we move to our
Next
segment, which is a final. We had 10 points, but we shall do 5. Then on Monday, Miriam, we do the next, so that we go. Yeah, Nancy Omar, what is coming is in your ball, in your court. The one coming is yours.
Go ahead.
Yes. Now, when you listen to Clever Gatete, who is the permanent representative of Rwanda to the United Nations, Gatete goes ahead to say that that is the Congolese government army and the FDLR. They have always joined efforts to fight the M23. Then the FDLR is accused to having taken a major front or a key role in the 1994 genocide. Now, when you look into that is the Congolese army getting together with FDLR to fight the M23, at times when you listen to Paul Kagame, you give him some benefit of doubt as a human. That M23 is a group that is made up of the Tutsi. And FDLR is being accused to having played a key role in the genocide that ended up hurting the Hutu Tutsis. And if FDLR are joining efforts with the Congolese government to fight the M23, then believe me, that Kagame will always want to support the M23 to go and fight in favor of his own sons, brothers, all those. Because to him, M23, if it's made up of the Tutsis, and FDLR had an issue with them back in Congo in 1994, and therefore this is just an extension of the genocide that we had in Rwanda. Therefore, in this case, I'll still wish that we get to listen to Tshisekedi. Why is he quiet on this? Because when you look at it, King, and the way we were saying it yesterday, that we don't need to get an M23 person speaking to know what they want. For as long as Paul Kagame speaks, then you can tell what M23 wants. In this case, I feel like when you listen to Gatete, when you listen to Paul Kagame and any other person in favor of M23, we only need to bring these two people together, Paul Kagame and Tshisekedi. Then we need as well to amplify the FDLR role in this case. Then the same case like what was happening in Ethiopia, that for this conflict to end, then Eritrea was to be pulled out. Then in this case, let FDL be pulled out so that we have the Congolese army, we have the Tshisekedi put on the table, then we have Paul Kagame. Both these two people tell us what they want going forward. But as things stand, M23 will always be supported by Paul Kagame, because M23 and FDLR conflict is an extension of the genocide in 1994 in Rwanda.
Allegedly.
Yes.
M23 allegedly is being supported because President Paul Kagame has denied that Rwanda is supporting, so allegedly, but we know the facts.
We come to the last version of events. We are supposed to have done 10, but because of the time, and the interesting thing is that this topic widens our scope of reasoning, and that is where we relax. I just want to bring, this is is very strange. In Somalia, Al-Shabaab is now running a CSR program. People gathered, supervised by Al-Shabaab. And I want Nancy Omar to be honest on this one. I said, tough question that the programs helping communities with food items from oil to beans to other food rations. What exactly is going on here? Have we lost Somalia to terrorists? Nancy Omar.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't quite get to that. What did your last point?
It is a serious question. And Mama, my daughter, everything lands on you. In Somalia, Al-Shabaab is now running CSR programs, helping communities with food items from oil to beans to other food rations. What exactly is going on in Somalia? Have we lost Somalia to terrorists? Tough question. Take us through like a children that want to understand nicely. Please. We saw the clips. You saw the clips. I think the production can bring the clips, but doing that, we are glorifying them. Let's leave the clips out. We saw the clips. Yeah, go ahead, Nancy Omar.
They have been doing this for quite a long time. This is not something new, and this is not something they've started today or yesterday. This is how they managed to keep a whole village, towns at check, where the international community, international donors program cannot reach because of lack of roads, lack of insecurity, and insecurity caused by the Al-Shabaab themselves, which the Somali government has adopted a new terminology calling them Khawarij. Now, these people have believed alongside these communities that would come, they would actually do things that the government is unable to do, the international donors program are unable to reach them. They're the ones who would be doing this. So how are they doing it? They're doing it to buy their silence. They're doing it to buy their sympathy, to show them that they have no sense of belonging, that Al-Shabaab is the only people who are righteous, and it's the only people who care for them. So they will do the wells for them, they will dig water wells for them, they'll bring food, they will donate all sort of things. But the minute one of them decides or speaks up, then that is when their true color comes out. And the funny thing is, they would go into the next village or to the person or other cities all over Somalia and collect funds from businessmen and women and saying this is your zakat, your donation to your country by force, that this is tax. So Al-Shabaab has been living within Somalia like a government within a government. This is not something that has started yesterday. You would see people who cannot get answers within the normal courts, whether it's because of corruption or whatever. When it comes to issues to do with land disputes, home disputes, they will resort in going to the Al-Shabaab thinking that they're doing the right thing, but it's actually empowering them more. And this is where the Somali government failed to let people go to them and ask them for justice, for people who are so injustice to think you're getting justice from them. But in a way, people were getting justice from them. They would tell the other people, they will call the other parties and they will be told, okay, this is what our finding is, you're in the wrong, give X and X and whatever the judgment would be. And mostly people would leave those courts feeling that they've got justice where they were denied justice. And these are the tactics that they've used, the manipulation they've managed to use for all these years to get these villages and these Somali people on their side. So am I surprised they're doing that? No, I'm not. They've been doing that all along. And they have to intensify that now, since there's other villages who are saying enough is enough. Because you cannot kill one village and tell the next village, I am being just. I'm the only one who is justful. And the government is not on your side. The government is this and that. So, yeah.
Well, okay. So you admit we have lost it.
Not lost.
Oh yes, they've been doing. It's not something new.
Let's be very honest, Medium.
Yeah.
Terrorists lining up. Where do Nancy? Where do they get this food?
Yeah, maybe that is the big question. But
where do they get this food? Where do they get this oil, which the government of Somalia cannot get? These are terrorists within Somalia. They are able to. It means there is collaboration between them and the terrorists and somebody in the government. How do they get all those bags of maize? Where is it coming from? Who is feeding them the cooking oil, which they have lined up? And some of the marks on the cooking oil, I've done an investigative piece on it. But Miriam, look at the marks on the cooking oil. It comes from one country in the world. So why are we watching? They man the territory, Nazi, please.
The reality is people have not want countries and governments have not want to see what Al-Shabaab is for what it is. Okay, Al-Shabaab is getting fundings from outside, 120%. Al-Shabaab has a bigger a puppet behind the curtains. It has a strong hand behind the curtains. There was no way they could survive. Al-Shabaab is very few and far apart. The commanders, the people who are in charge, are the ones who have the money, have the fundings, and using the few on the ground to do their work, whether it's fighting, whether it's dropping bombs on themselves. But the real Al-Shabaab, I believe they're not even in Somalia. They're being controlled from somewhere else. And you've got 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 maximum heads of Al-Shabaab that represent Somalia. But the rest are innocent people who are forced to be part of it, who are either coerced to be part of it, who are either introduced to be part of it, and they have no choice because the governments cannot reach where they are. They have no alternative. But the focus should be on where they're getting the funding from and who is behind the curtain. Because in the Somali government and the Somali people cannot fight a fight that they cannot win because the funding keeps coming. If you cut one pipeline, the Somali government have been very tough. They've said they are going to they've cut all the glorification of Al-Shabaab in the media. They've cut the streamlines where the funding that were the local businesses were paying to Al-Shabaab. They've been told if you pay any money, taxes to Al-Shabaab, you are part of Al-Shabaab, and this X, Y, and Z is going to happen. They're working so hard, relentlessly, but the problem is you cannot fight with people who have bigger guns than you are, who are more equipped than you are. You can only fight with as a government if you have bigger equipment than them, if you have more resource than them. But Al-Shabaab is more resourceful than the Somali government. So what is the Somali government to do?
Wanda, me now, I am so shocked. You know, Wanda, Miriam, I don't know whether you see what I see. The way things are going, the Americans were fighting Taliban in Afghanistan. All of a sudden, we saw lukewarm operations, you know, everything started, the medium going down. There was no more news on Afghanistan. The next day, sincerely, nothing. Guess what we saw? The guys announced that there's a meeting in Doha, and they have been meeting Taliban in Qatar, where the football is right now. And they are leaving Kandahar and Kabul. Is there something that we don't know? Wanda.
I say it is. It's complicated. There's something that you even run short of words to explain, because could be we having some force that we don't know that are working here. Therefore, the only thing I can say it is sad and very complicated.
So what is complicated?
Let me throw a bone in for you guys, okay? Dwell on this. How about this as a caveat? There is a known Al-Shabaab affiliate who was in a high-ranking position in Al-Shabaab that said there's a time that amnesty was given to Al-Shabaab. Anybody who would surrender from them would be taken to through a program with the government. Okay. Now, somebody was caught during Farmajo's administration. He was one of the commanders of Al-Shabaab. He was released, he was given a passport, he went to Mecca, did his pilgrimage, he came back, and then he was under house arrest. By the time he was put under house arrest, people were up in arms saying that, why are you putting him under house arrest? Remind you, he has not been taken to court, he has still not been charged. Whatever direction was given to the Somali government at the time, God knows where the orders were coming from, and in the end, he was under house arrest. After that government failed and the new government emerged, the same person was given a ministerial position. Now you tell me. He is a minister in the current government now.
Are we eating with the enemies?
We are dining with them. We've fast eating. We are in bed with them. We're not only eating with them.
In bed? Hola! Hola! Thank you very much. Miriam, the hard question, the tough question, which remains tough question on this show. And the viewers across the continent of Africa and the international community in the universe, right from London.
Sorry, Dr. Matanga, if the Western government know this guy as to be Al-Shabaab, and they know that he was on a house arrest, why are they not up in arms that he is in the current government? Not the Americans, not the British, they're all quiet because they want him to be there. So what is going on?
Just listen from Miriam.
Actually, I support a lot of what Omar has said. I was reading a story on Al Jazeera maybe about a month ago on everything Omar has said. There's a section of places there where people prefer to go to Al-Shabaab courts because they feel they'll get more justice than the normal judicial process. That really shocked me. So I think Al-Shabaab has mastered, diplomacy to the T, and they know how to endear themselves to the people. And of course, as we've been looking at this situation and the current fight against Al-Shabaab in Somalia, there are some elements. Where does Al-Shabaab get this relief food? Where do they get this the extra money, as much as there are external forces that is supporting them, because this is a conversation we've been having for a long time. But there could be also some elements in that government that is colluding. So I'll not say much, but I support a lot of what the questions that Omar is asking and a lot of things that she said.
Thank you very much. It is my worry, my biggest question that remains unanswered. Where did they get this oil and salt, flour, beans? If we are looking for terrorism and traces of who are the suppliers of the terrorists, who know exactly which boys, who pays, who is buying these goods? The tough question is, the cooking oil is missing in Mogadishu. Is it? But it is available in the terrorist territory. How do they, is it coming from heaven? Is it coming from heaven? Ladies and gentlemen, we have overstretched our time. We have one pressing issue that we can't leave until next week. And let's touch on it, starting with Miriam, or Wanda, or anybody who is ready. President Ramaphosa, Africa is Africa. The people of Kenya who celebrated they could be going to South Africa from Miriam, were we taking the first flight? You and me, and then we'll do a documentary down in Johannesburg, because for Ugandans, we get ours right at the entry point. So like it started a long time ago. You get my point? So, Ma'am, are we getting our President Ramaphosa, Miriam? Is this, since Mandela left power, all the presidents of South Africa have never finished their terms. What is the problem? What could be the problem? What is going on in ANC? Is there something that South Africans can do to save ANC? What the hell is going on here? Any African anywhere who listening to my program, who will pick this clip on YouTube, tell me something. The tough question is, why is it that all the presidents of South Africa don't finish their terms in office? Thabo Mbeki, my good friend, we did the Darfur region peace process together. He lost his job very miserably. He will never recover. Every time when we go on the train, on the plane, and we sit down in the hotel, he said, bring another bottle of brandy. Let's have a drink. Because he couldn't believe. This is a man who took over from Mandela thinking he could bring South Africa together, was brought down. Mr. Jacob Zuma, who undermined Mr. Thabo Mbeki, was also brought down by Julius Malema. Julius Malema acted on removal of Thabo Mbeki and acted again on removal of Jacob Zuma. The same Julius Malema is the one saying, bring it on, bring the thing to discuss on the floor. Why is it that presidents in South Africa don't finish their term? Is there something with the Constitutional Republic of South Africa? Is there something wrong with ANC? Is there something wrong with the governance? Is there something wrong with South Africans themselves? And is there something wrong? In God's paradise. Miriam.
I guess that is democracy at work. Well, apparently from the investigations that were being done, President Ramaphosa, there's some possibility that he committed some crimes by hiding $4 million in his furniture in his private farm without, I guess, disclosing, so that perhaps that went against the financial laws in South Africa. And at the same time, you know, this the thieves who had been caught stealing this money, apparently they were kidnapped and, you know, and later on they were bribed and told to shut up. They were given shush money to go and be quiet and not speak about their discovery. So there are some problems that were found in relation to this money. Is it enough to warrant the president to be removed from power? I don't know, but I guess according to our Africa democracy, our bar is really so low, because we've seen in the UK how they've been changing the prime minister because of things that will not even meet any standard here. But you know, you say this, but you know you cannot keep your word. So therefore, Liz Truss, you must leave now. So I guess ours here, the bar is so low. So maybe a lot of people are thinking this is not enough to have a president leave. But also, it is democracy at work. If that is how their democratic structure works, then that's what it is.
What is the democratic structure, Miriam? That
it allows, if they feel they're discontent,
now,
they feel the president.
Can I tell you something which is very strange?
Yeah.
As much as we are celebrating going to South Africa, the new president might come and say, put the program on hold. Because it looks like between now and the Monday, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa must make a decision. Does he face the parliament, or is censured by the national executive of ANC, a clause that once you are mentioned on corruption charges, you just go away, melt away, just get off. So between now and the Monday, South Africa.
This is all politics, because we know that he's meant to be running for his second term as the leader of the Royal Party.
What do you mean it is all politics? Money was found in his sofa set.
But it's interesting that it came out, that was found a couple of years ago, by the way. It was not found this year. So it's interesting that it
yes, but then what has happened is that, Miriam, can I tell you something which I should not have told you now? The intelligence officer, Mr. Frazier, who actually now worked with some officials in another country in Africa, is the one who said, if you don't do this for me, I'll do this for you. And he fled the country. But the point of South Africa and the Ramaphosa's problem, which he doesn't know, and Mr. Ramaphosa, listen to me, I am now giving you free advice. There is someone, Ramaphosa says, that government says you are harboring a person. You know the problem of South Africa could be coming from Botswana, of Ramaphosa. And I'm sorry to say this, I'm an open African. Mr. Hammer has been given asylum in South Africa.
The former Botswana,
Yes.
Mahama, yeah.
Yes, and Mr. Masisi.
Ian Hammer.
Yes, Ian Hammer. And Masisi has been requesting for Mr. Hammer to return, and asking Ramaphosa to stop helping Hammer. You know, these are some of the complicated things that diplomacy brings. Now, the intelligence officer, Mr. Frazier, who fled into Botswana, why did he flee into Botswana? And then made these revelations in Botswana. A tough question.
I said it's politics.
And if I may just come in.
And also as you come in, tell us, why should the president of a country or a person of a country hide $4 million in his sofa set? And then tell us, no, tell South Africans to be banking their money every morning. That's the tough question. Miriam, you can try to safeguard this interest, but Mama,
No. He did break some financial laws in the country. Did I not say that? He did.
Yes, you did, Miriam. You did. But this is the thing.
Yes.
You have brought the actual what is behind all this. It's not about the $400 million that was found under his sofa. Let's just not kid ourselves. Nobody knows right now what is in my house. A thief would not just come and decide, oh, I want to go and break into Nazi's Omar's house. A thief only goes to a place.
For me, I would like to go and break in yours in North London.
The only person who would do that is somebody who knows what is there, what is worth. There is something worth in there, and it was done. Somebody who knew exactly what is there, what was there. This was just a way of revealing it. It's not something new. It's not something it was something intentionally. And why was it done intentionally? Something was needed out of this president to do, and he did not do it. So you don't do this. I'll bring out the skeletons in your closet. And this is just part of that, part of the skeletons in his closets. And that is how the game of politics in Africa is so dirty that you don't scratch my back, I'll bring out the skeleton in your closets out. So it's not about ethics for them. It's not about showing that this president is so bad that he's asking people to take their money into the bank and he has $4 million, whatever, under his couch. How did anybody know that he has that money there? It's just a way of exposing him, because the other party, the other politicians, whether it's within the country, whether it's outside the country, did not get what they want. But if they did get what they want, they would not expose him and he would continue to do what he's doing. So in a way, it's good to let everybody explore, what we call somebody out. But then not only when you don't get things done your way is when you point the skeletons under other person's closet. I would love to see African leaders doing that openly. Let everybody bring whatever's under his closet, the skeletons out. Especially, we should have a safeguard for whistleblowers in Africa. We should adopt a law and a safe haven for all whistleblowers. So everybody who works within these governments, African governments, can whistleblow and be on a safe zone that no government can touch them.
Okay.
Yes, power in Africa is transient. Hey, Wanda, Nancy, there's something, Miriam. You see, still none of you has come closer to telling me why all the presidents in South Africa end up not finishing their term. That's what the question, Miriam, think about. Wanda, someone investigated, followed in the house. Is it the wife?
Yes.
You know, women usually also give out secrets.
Yeah.
The Nazi Omars. Nazi Omar, you say, oh no, there is money here. Is it the case? What happened as we part?
Yeah, in fact, when you look in this, the Farmgate scandal, where the 4 million US dollar that are in question, then this 580,000 US dollar in the president's sofa cushions, it is even embarrassing. Like, how can a president, the whole president of such a powerful nation, have such such amount hidden in his cushion? Then, as you're putting it, chances are it is someone from his own house that ended up setting him up. Then, from Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, Zuma, and now Ramaphosa, all these people were associated or directly associated or attached to the anti-apartheid, the struggle for the liberation of South Africa from the discrimination of a black person. Their former, that is Nelson Mandela. Mandela ended up telling the world that it was not his intention to become the president, and that's why he even ended up quitting. His intention was only to take care of a black man, to bring the fairness, the equality. Now, at times, as you're putting it, could it be that all the pioneers of ANC and the foundation of ANC was not to take over the presidency and the leadership of the country, but it was only formed on the basis of liberating the black person? Or could it be a case of South Africans are so serious when it comes to corruption, and the leadership of ANC is African in nature, that corruption can be, at least you can play around with corruption? Islander.
So your point is that corruption, is it?
Yes, because you look at Zuma, it was corruption. Okay, all the way, all this president.
Mbeki was corrupting the DPP to imprison Zuma.
Yeah.
Zuma was paid a commission on the French arms.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Ramaphosa banked money in the sofa set for people to sit on instead of banking it in a normal bank. So, in normal circumstances,
corruption, because it is money. First of all, President Cyril Ramaphosa is one of the wealthiest people in South Africa. His sister is married to the wealthiest person, Motsepe. His wife is Motsepe. Yeah. So he has money. He comes from a lot of.
Is it the Oppenheimer family?
No, Motsepe. So he has money. So 4 million is a small change to him, but nevertheless he did break.
My sister.
But it is his money. It is his money.
My sister.
Nobody is saying he stole the money.
Come on, my sister. So why do you bank the money in the mattress?
That is the problem, but it's not because it is through corruption or he stole it. That is not what you're looking at. It is he broke financial.
Now it has come to the notice. Let me give you a shocker. This is the tough question. The buffaloes have never been delivered up to today. The company that he claims to be delivering the buffaloes and they got money from them they have come out to say we have never. That our buffaloes have never come. Hello? Miriam. So if the company where you say you got money from buffaloes and the company said no, those buffaloes have never been delivered to us. And we never requested for buffaloes. I'm telling you, it is a painful snow death. Between now and Monday, 9 o'clock in Cape Town, before the documents arrive on the floor, Mr. Ramaphosa must choose, and the tough question, do I remain as the president of South Africa, and be dragged through all the mud, since I also created a committee of state capture
For Zuma.
for Zuma.
I think he might.
What does that teach you in Africa? What does that teach you wherever you were, where you are watching me from, ladies and gentlemen, in Africa? What does that teach you? What does that teach you? That's the tough question I leave for you for this Friday. Have a nice weekend. What does it teach you? Thank you very much, my panel. Thank you very much, Nazi Omar. Nazi Omar, I enjoy you on this panel every Friday. Please spare it before you go to the mosque. Spare it for me. And I wonder.
Thank you very much. It's actual almost time for me to go for my prayers. I was nice discussing with you. Looking forward on being on the Mondays panel. I say have a good Friday at the studios in Nairobi, Mariam.
Thank you so much.
My brother Wonder, and you at the headquarters. Thank you, Dr. Ari.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my sister.
Mali one accent.
Yes.
Shima one accent.
Remember, what does that mean? Warima accent and what?
Mali one accent, Jim'a one accent. Have a good Friday and have a good day.
Marie Wanston and Dinari Watson.
Jim'a one accent.
Gina Watson. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I will come closer and I will learn this Somali thing and I will speak it.
Thank you, Omar. Have a good day too and enjoy your prayers.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you. We have come to the end of our show. They question the tough questions. This has been an interesting show. The only date we began. And let's watch on Monday. We begin the week while Miriam searches for the questions. Which type of questions you want to bring forward on Monday? God bless you. God bless Africa. Thank you very much, Miriam, for keeping the custom as usual.